What is a sibling?
A sibling is a brother or sister. Most brothers and sisters share the same mother and father. But sometimes siblings have the same mother but different fathers. Or the reverse, the same father and different mothers. Siblings that have one parent the same as you and one different are said to be half-brothers or half-sisters. You may have siblings who have a different mother and a different father from you. Those siblings are considered step-brothers and step-sisters. It doesn't really matter how you are related to your brothers and sisters, though. They are still an important part of your family and can be wonderful to have around.
What should I do when someone's touch makes me feel bad?
Sharing a hug or kiss with someone starts with loving feelings inside. When you don't have those feelings, hugging and kissing should not be expected. You have a right to say no to touching or being touched by someone. A person's control over his or her own body is personal and private, no matter how old he or she is, and should be respected by all. Although most grown ups are nice people who care about and respect children, there are a few who do things to harm kids. One bad thing they may do is treat children in a sexual way, which is behavior that should only take place among grown ups who have a special love relationship. It is never okay for a grown-up to treat a child like this. Under any circumstance. It is against the law. If someone ever touches your body in a way that invades your personal privacy, you should tell a trusted grown-up at once. Sometimes telling someone about it is hard to do, though, because you may have confused feelings about the situation. Maybe the touching gives you an uneasy feeling, but the attention it brings makes you feel special. Maybe you get treats or presents if you agree to touch or be touched, and you like those, too. And sometimes you might feel afraid because you know that if you tell what's going on, a lot more trouble will start. Still, touching between people should be a happy thing. If it makes you feel confused or bad, then you know it isn't right. If for some reason the adult that you go to for help doesn't believe your story, tell it to someone else. Keep on telling until the person who is touching you has been stopped. Molesting a child is an awful thing, so a lot of people will be very upset when they find out about it. Just remember that nobody is upset with you and that you are not responsible for the bad things that were done in any way. Children are taught to trust adults and to do what grown-ups tell them. Adults who abuse the trust of children in this terrible way are completely to blame.
How many different alphabets are there?
There are about 46 different alphabets in use today. Modern English and languages of Western Europe, Africa, and the Americas use a modified version of the Latin alphabet, which was developed by the ancient Romans. The Cyrillic alphabet, which is used by many countries in Eastern Europe like Russia, Serbia, and Bulgaria, is based on the ancient Greek alphabet. Modern Greek, Hebrew, and Arabic all have their own alphabets. Hebrew and Arabic are written from right to left. Some writing systems that are in use today are not true alphabets. A true alphabet is a system of writing in which symbols or letters represent all the sounds of a language. The Indian Devanagari alphabet is the source of many types of Asian writing. Some of its symbols represent syllables of words instead of individual sounds. Japanese uses similar syllabic features. It also shares features with China's non-alphabetic system of writing, where each of its many symbols or characters represent a different word or idea. Modern Japanese and Chinese are written from right to left, too, though they were once written from top to bottom in vertical columns. As you can imagine, these writing systems are especially challenging to learn. China's writing system is so complex, in fact with several thousand characters, that it has kept much of that country's population from becoming fully literate, able to read and write.
How big can a giant squid get?
Squids range in size from tiny, less than 3/4 of an inch, or 1.5 centimeters, to gigantic. The giant squid, scientifically known as the Archaeoteuthis, can reach 65 feet. 20 meters, in length, with tentacles that are close to 20 feet, 6 meters, long. The eye of a giant squid can be as big as a foot, 30 centimeters, across. They can weigh nearly a ton, 2,000 pounds, or 908 kilograms. Giant squids are the largest invertebrates ever to have lived. Scientists don't know much about the giant squid, and what they do know comes entirely from observations of dead specimens that have been washed up on shore or found in the stomachs of sperm whales. Giant squid's number one, and possibly only, predator. Although numerous scientific teams have searched for giant squids using some of the most sophisticated tracking equipment available, none has been able to catch sight of this mysterious animal. Part of the problem in finding a giant squid in its natural habitat is that these creatures may live in the deepest part of the ocean, a very difficult area for humans to explore. Because so little is known for sure about giant squids, many myths and stories have been told over the years about this supposedly ferocious sea monster attacking ships and eating people. No such stories have ever been proven, however, and many scientists believe they are completely inaccurate.
How many bones do I have?
Babies are born with about 330 bones. but many of them join together during the process of growing up, creating fewer, larger bones. Adults have 206 bones. Some people end up with a few extra bones, though. In the arches of their feet or as an extra set of ribs in their rib cage. Many bones are shaped to protect and support soft body parts. The curved bones of your skull, for instance, enclose and protect your brain, your body's command center. The ribs form a cage that protects your heart and lungs. Your wrists, hands, ankles, and feet contain more than half the bones of your body. Usually the more bones, joints, and muscles you have in a spot, the more flexible it is. That is why you can make such small, precise movements with your hands and feet. Like tying a bow or balancing on your tiptoes.
Where does sand come from?
The rock particles that make up soil come in different sizes and are given different names to show this. Sand, often called a grain, is a piece of rock that measures from 0.0024 to 0.08 inches. 0.06 to 2 millimeters, across. Sand results when larger rocks disintegrate, eroded by water, weather, and glaciers. The two greatest deposits of sand on Earth's surface can be found in deserts and on beaches. When soil consists mostly of sand, its large grains cannot hold the water or nutrients needed. For healthy plant growth, one reason you don't see many plants in the desert or on the beach. When you look closely at a handful of sand, you may find that the grains are really many different colors. This is because sand comes from several different kinds of rocks. Sand may appear brown, yellow, white, or even black, when it comes from certain volcanic rock. The sand of some beaches may also have grains made of organic material, the remains of living creatures. Like shells and coral instead of rock.
What is my belly button?
Your belly button, or navel, is a scar where your umbilical cord once was. The tube-like cord connected you to your mother when you were inside her uterus, growing into a baby. It carried oxygen and nourishment to you from the placenta, an organ that develops in the uterus during pregnancy, connecting you to your mother's blood supply. It also carried away waste products from your blood. Once you were born, the umbilical cord was no longer needed, because you began to breathe and eat on your own. The cord was clamped off and cut, and what was left of it withered and dropped off about a week after your birth.
What is mimicry?
Mimicry is the ability some animals have to resemble another animal, so closely that they can fool either their prey or their predators. For example, the beautiful and brightly colored monarch butterfly has a foul taste. and most birds will avoid eating it. The viceroy butterfly, with its similarly colored orange and black wings, looks so much like the monarch that most birds are fooled and will also avoid the viceroy. The American zone-tailed hawk has similar color and body shape to that of a certain kind of vulture. Vultures do not attack live animals, they eat only carrion, which is the flesh of animals that are already dead, so small animals on the ground are not afraid of them. The zone-tailed hawk flies in groups with these vultures, disguising itself among them, and then swoops down on unsuspecting rodents that didn't recognize the hawk in time to scurry away. The red milk snake, which is harmless, has color patterns similar to the deadly coral snake. A potential enemy could easily mistake the milk snake for the coral snake and, thinking it is venomous, leave it alone.
What makes a shadow?
Visible light spreads out in waves as it leaves its source. These waves travel in straight lines through the air until they hit an object. The object will absorb some of the waves and reflect some back into the air. Light waves will not be able to pass through most materials, unless they are clear, like glass. Behind any object that has stopped the light waves is a dark spot, or shadow, which is simply a space where no light is. There are no shadows in dark rooms because no light waves are traveling through them. And on overcast days you won't see shadows outside because the sun's rays are absorbed and scattered in all directions by the clouds in the sky. Not enough direct light waves make it to Earth to cause shadows.
Why do I laugh when someone tickles me?
The millions of tiny sensors under your skin which detect touch, pain, and temperature send information to your brain about your surroundings, and your brain tells you how to react. When someone tickles you, your touch sensors are overloaded with messages, and your brain puts your body on alert, making your muscles tense to help you escape. During tickling, you always yell stop, and try to get away. Right? It's not exactly relaxing. You laugh because it is a way for your body to release tension if you can't stop the tickler. Exercise and laughter are good tension releasers for the body, both make you feel better afterwards.
How did writing begin?
People communicated through speaking long before they began writing. Historians think that writing, a visible record of language, began around 4500 BC in Mesopotamia, located in the area that is now Iraq. People there, probably Sumerians, used wedges to make marks on wet slabs of clay that were later dried or baked to hardness, making a permanent record. Their system of writing, which consisted of symbols that represented words or syllables of words is called cuneiform. At about the same time the ancient Egyptians began to use a similar writing system called hieroglyphics. Pictures and symbols represented ideas and words or parts of words. Egyptians also wrote on clay tablets or carved hieroglyphics on the stone walls of monuments and tombs. They also painted them on paper-like materials made from river grasses, papyrus, or other plants. Few of these more delicate examples have survived. The Rosetta Stone, found in Egypt in 1799 and carved in 3 languages including hieroglyphics, gave scholars the key to understanding ancient Egypt's picture language. Later, the Maya people of Central America invented their own hieroglyphic writing system. None of these written picture languages are true alphabets, the symbols of which represent all the sounds of a language. The ancient Greeks created the first true alphabet around 1000 BC. The word alphabet comes from the names of the first 2 Greek letters, alpha and beta. All complex civilizations have some form of writing.
Why do houses usually have lawns around them?
Houses have lawns around them for several reasons. The stretches of green grass look pretty, and they are good. Safe places for children to play when they are outside. Also, lawns frequently mark the boundaries that separate one person's property from another. Long ago, only the rich could afford to have lawns. Other people had to use all of their land to raise crops so that they had enough to eat. So a lawn became a status symbol, a sign to others that its owner had enough wealth to waste a portion of his or her land on grass, which was merely pretty, not producing anything that could be eaten or sold. That way of thinking may still be at work today. The average American lawn could produce about $2,000 worth of fruits and vegetables if it were planted. But instead of using land as a way to save money, American homeowners do exactly the opposite, spending several $100s and countless hours each year on maintaining their lawns. Many people value the beauty of a well-cared-for lawn, however. Admiring the effect of a homeowner's hard work. Dr. John Falk, who works for the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., has conducted studies to prove his own interesting theory about why people like lawns. He thinks that because most of our history as humans was spent on the grassy savannas, large grassy areas with few trees, of East Africa, our desire to live around lawns is biological, or passed on through our genes from our prehistoric beginnings. Falk thinks that people naturally prefer the familiarity and safety, because the approach of predators can be seen, of flat, grassy land over any other kind of environment. And his experiments seem to prove the theory true. Falk showed people from all over the world pictures of different terrains: desert, rainforest, coniferous, evergreen, forest, deciduous, leaf shedding, forest, and savanna, and most chose the grassland as the place where they would like to live.
How many kinds of fish are there?
There are around 25,000 different species of fish, with hundreds of new species being discovered every year. Of all the vertebrate groups including fish, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and birds, fish are the most diverse. Most fish have scales, but some do not. Some are brilliantly colored, others blend in with the muddy sea bottom or the plants they live amongst. And certain fish can even change their colors to match their changing environment. There are even fish that can glow, a function called bioluminescence. In the pitch-black world of the deep sea, some fish have sleek, torpedo-shaped bodies with fins, some have spiny or puffed-up bodies. Others are flat, and still others have long, snake-like bodies. The largest class of fish by far are the bony fish, or osteichthyes. This class includes most of the fish that people catch for fun and for food. Like salmon, trout, tuna, sole, and perch. All bony fish have a skeleton that is at least partly made up of bone. And most have plate-like scales, a cover over their gills, and a swim bladder, which is a sac filled with gas that the fish can empty or release to control how closely they swim to the surface. The bony fish range in size from the goby, which is one of the world's smallest vertebrates at about 1/2 inch, 1 centimeter, in length, to the enormous whale sharks, which can get as long as 50 feet, 15 meters. Among the most fascinating classes of fish are the cartilaginous fish, or chondrichthyes, including sharks and rays. Chondrichthyes have skeletons made of cartilage instead of bone. Cartilage is an elastic tissue that is more flexible than bone but can still provide support. Pinch the tip of your nose, and you'll see what cartilage feels like. Sharks have scales, but not like the ones found on bony fish. Sharks' scales feel rough, like sandpaper, and they are made of a material similar to teeth. In fact, the teeth of sharks are actually modified scales. Sharks usually have powerful tails, a blunt snout, and powerful jaws with multiple rows of teeth. If a shark loses teeth while feeding or fighting, new teeth from the back rows will move to the front. Many people think of sharks as savage and dangerous. But in fact only a small number pose a threat to people. While some sharks can get extremely large, most species are smaller than 3 feet, 1 meter, in length. With the smallest shark, the dwarf dogfish, measuring only about 8 inches, 20 centimeters, long. Another type of chondrichthyes, the rays, have wide, flat bodies with the eyes on top and the mouth and gills underneath. They live at the bottom of the ocean, moving slowly through the water by gracefully flapping their wing-like fins. While many rays are harmless to humans, some, such as stingrays, have narrow tails with sharp, poisonous spines. If the stingray feels threatened, it can whip its spiny tail at its enemies. causing extremely painful and sometimes severe wounds. Rays range in size from a few inches to more than 20 feet, 6 meters, in width. Another class of fish, known as the jawless fish, or agnatha, includes lamprey eels and hagfish. Many of these primitive species are parasites, meaning they live off other organisms. Lampreys in particular have caused major problems for commercial fisheries, destroying large numbers of trout and other fish in the Great Lakes and other regions of the United States. They have long, eel-like bodies and round, jawless mouths. They attach onto their prey by suction, biting into a fish's flesh with their small, sharp teeth. Their skeletal structure consists only of a cord made of cartilage, called a notochord, running the length of their bodies.
How do I know if I've broken a bone?
Bones break when too much stress is applied by physical forces. Breaks usually occur when a person is injured playing sports, or when he or she is involved in an accident. Bone diseases can also cause breaks. With serious breaks called compound fractures, you know something is wrong because the bone sticks out through the skin, and muscles and other tissue are damaged around it. But a lot of bone breaks are simple fractures, where the bone has broken cleanly instead of splintering, and it doesn't push out through the skin. In such cases it is hard to know if you have broken a bone, or if the pain you're feeling is caused by a pulled muscle or a sprained joint. A fractured bone usually causes a lot of pain, and the injured area may look swollen or be shaped funny. Still, the only way to tell if you have a broken bone for sure is to have it X-rayed. X-rays, short-wave radiation that can pass through flesh but not bone. Leaving a picture on photographic film or plates, can detect a break in a bone. If your bone is broken, the pieces will have to be held together in the right position in order to heal properly, growing back together as before. Sometimes a hard cast or splint is used to keep the injured body part from moving for a few weeks. Some broken bones are held together naturally, by the muscles that surround them. And in serious cases, metal screws, nails, and plates keep the ends of broken bones in place as they heal. Healing time depends on the bone broken and the age of the injured person. The bones of children heal very quickly.
What is a widow?
A widow is a woman whose husband has died but who has not remarried. She may or may not have children. Similarly, a man whose wife has died but who has not remarried is called a widower. You may be familiar with the word because of the poisonous black widow spider, which lives in North and South America. It gets its name from the fact that the female may eat the male after mating, making herself a widow.
Is it okay to tell a secret that someone else told me?
A big part of listening to someone's secret is promising not to tell anyone else. Doing what you promise is a way of showing that you can be trusted. When you tell someone else's secret, it usually indicates that you care more about yourself than about the person who shared the confidence with you. That behavior breaks the basic rule of conduct that helps people get along in the world. Treating others the same way in which you would like to be treated.
Why shouldn't I pick at scabs?
It's hard not to pick at scabs, which sometimes itch and pull and are annoying. But they are there for a good reason. They keep a cut or scrape protected from outside germs while it is healing. New skin cells form on the bottom of a wound first, working their way up to the surface. So the top of a cut or scrape is the last part to be repaired, and the scab will be shed when it is no longer needed. When you pull off a scab before the healing process is done, you may expose the wound to germs again. In addition, you may disrupt the repair process and cause more damage to tissues. Before the cut or scrape is fully healed, leaving you with an unnecessary scar.
Who invented the sandwich?
A sandwich is a piece of meat or other food that is placed between two pieces of bread. It is named after John Montagu, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, a place in England, who invented this way of eating in the 18th century. Hooked on gambling, he couldn't take the time to stop playing and eat a regular meal. He asked to have his meat brought to him between two slices of bread so the cards wouldn't get greasy. And he ate this meal, dubbed a sandwich, right at the gaming tables.
What happens when people die?
When death occurs, blood which carries oxygen to all the cells of the body has stopped circulating. This stoppage may be caused by damage to the heart, which is the muscle that pumps blood throughout the body, or by damage to the brain, which gives the signals that direct the heart to do its pumping. Other circumstances, like severe accidents, also stop blood flow. But whatever the reason, once blood stops bringing its life-giving oxygen to the body's billions of cells, the building blocks that make up the human body, the death of those cells starts to occur. When the brain, which is the body's command center, goes without oxygen for about 15 minutes, all cells there die. While machines can help our lungs breathe or our hearts pump blood, no machine can assume the complex functions of the brain. Without a brain, we cannot live. Soon after a person dies, an official document called a death certificate is filled out and later filed as a record with the local government. It includes such information as time, place, and cause of death.
Why do I cry when I'm unhappy or hurt myself?
Scientists don't really know why we cry when we're unhappy or hurt, or sometimes, even joyful. But tears help express deeply felt emotions and often release stress and tension from the body. From our earliest days, when we were babies and could not yet communicate through language, crying let the people around us know that we needed something. Frequently, even after we become older, crying still serves as a wordless signal that something help or comfort is needed. In places all over the world, no matter what language is spoken, crying expresses emotions that are easily understood by all.
What is the most important organ in my body?
While many of our organs are vital, meaning we could not live without them, the brain is the most complex and the most important part of our bodies. The brain is the body's command center. Everything we do, eating, talking, walking, thinking, remembering, sleeping, is controlled and processed by the brain. Our brain tells us what's going on outside our bodies, whether we are cold or hot, for instance, or whether the person we see coming toward us is a friend or a stranger, as well as what's going on inside our bodies. Whether we have an infection or a broken bone, or whether we feel happy or sad. The key to the body's nervous system, the brain, contains billions, between 10 billion and 100 billion, of nerve cells, or neurons. Neurons combine to form the body's nerves. Thin cords that spread from head to toe and all parts in between. Neurons take in and send out electrical signals, called impulses, that control or respond to everything your body does and feels. The brain is like a very busy, high-speed post office, constantly receiving messages and sending them out all the time. It handles millions of nerve impulses every second. An interesting fact about the brain: while it is responsible for receiving and transmitting all messages of pain for the whole body, the brain itself does not have pain receptors. That means that, if you could somehow gain access to another person's brain, you could poke it or pinch it and that person wouldn't feel the pain. The human brain is divided into three main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. The largest part of the brain, about 85% of its total weight. The cerebrum controls emotions, thought, memory, and speech. It is divided into a right and left side, called hemispheres. And each side is divided further into parts called lobes. Its thick outer covering, called the cortex, is made up of a type of tissue called gray matter. The cerebellum coordinates the kinds of movements we don't usually think about. It helps us walk upright and in a straight line. It keeps us balanced so we don't tip over. and it gives us coordination so we can run and play. The brainstem connects the brain with the spinal cord. It controls our body's vital processes, like breathing, digestion, and heart rate.
Why do people work?
People usually work to get the things that they need to live. The most basic needs are food, clothing, and shelter. In some places, people grow their own food, make their own clothes, and build their own shelters, living much as their ancestors have for thousands of years. In other places, people earn money to buy those things. Work in industrialized, or developed, nations frequently takes place in office buildings or factories. While some people still make their livings as farmers. The economies of such countries are based on advanced technologies and large-scale manufacturing, which create products and services that earn workers more money than people can make in the less industrial or developing countries of the world, where farming is the main industry, and most farmers can barely grow enough food for their own families. People who live in industrialized nations like the United States, Canada, Japan, Australia, and many countries in Europe are able to buy far more than the basic things they need to live. They are able to make their lives easier and safer by paying for clean water, electricity, good medical care, reliable transportation, and much more. Those who live in developing countries, located mainly in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, still struggle to acquire the most basic necessities. It may be hard to believe, but it's nonetheless true that half of the world's people are malnourished, don't have enough of the right foods to be healthy, and 80% live in substandard housing, homes that are not clean and safe.
Why does the skin on my fingers and toes wrinkle when I'm in water for a long time?
The wrinkles that you see on your fingers and toes when you've been in water a long time may make you think that your skin is shriveling and shrinking, just like a raisin. But actually the opposite reaction is taking place, your skin is expanding. The tough outer layer of skin is thickest on your hands and feet, because those parts get the most wear. This outer layer absorbs water easily once the oily coating on your skin gets washed away in the bath or while swimming. The skin on your fingers and toes soaks up water and expands. Once the water is no longer under your skin, that expanded skin wrinkles up. But those wrinkles don't last long once you get out of the water.
What is a comet?
While asteroids are made mostly of rock and minerals, comets consist of ice, particles of dirt and dust, and gases. They have been compared to gigantic dirty snowballs that orbit the Sun. As these icy bodies get closer to the Sun, the Sun's intense heat turns some of the ice in the comet's nucleus, or center, into gases. These gases, and the dust particles that used to be frozen inside them, fly off the nucleus into space, forming a gaseous outer covering of the comet, called the coma, and a long, glowing tail. While the nucleus of a comet is only a few miles across, the coma can be as big as 1 million miles. 1.6 million kilometers, in diameter, and the tail can extend for millions of miles. Usually comets can only be seen from Earth with a telescope, but sometimes, when they pass close to the Sun and are at their brightest, comets can be seen just by observing the night sky. The enormous comet Hale-Bopp passed within 122 million miles, 197 million kilometers, of Earth in 1997 and could be seen without a telescope. The famous Halley's Comet, pronounced Halley, also called Comet Halley, orbits the Sun once every 76 years. Give or take a couple years, becoming visible when it gets close to the Sun. Last seen in 1986, Halley's Comet isn't due back until 2061 or 2062. English astronomer Edmund Halley gave the comet its name. He was the first to suggest that comets traveled in regular orbits. An interesting story about Halley's Comet involves the great American author Mark Twain, whose real name was Samuel Clemens. Born in 1835, Twain came into the world in a year when Halley's Comet, then a great mystery to scientists, was visible in the sky. Fascinated by the comet's orbit, Twain later predicted that he would die in the year when the comet made its return. This prediction came true. Twain died in 1910. A year when Halley's Comet was once again visible in the night sky. When he made the prediction, Twain imagined God saying, "Now here are these two unaccountable freaks, they came in together, they must go out together."
What are tonsils?
Tonsils are large bumps of special tissue located on either side of your throat at the back of your tongue. They are part of your lymphatic system, which helps your body defend itself against disease-causing germs and other foreign substances. Lymph glands, located in many parts of your body, make a special type of white blood cell, called lymphocytes. They also trap infectious invaders before they can enter your bloodstream. Your tonsils are tiny when you are born, and they grow until you are about 6 or 7 years old. They begin to shrink in size after that. So your tonsils are biggest when you are just starting out in school, a time when you are exposed to more new germs than usual. When you breathe in disease-causing germs, many of them are stopped in your tonsils and in other lymphatic tissue located around your mouth and throat in order to protect your lungs. But filtering out all those germs may cause your tonsils to become infected, as a result, a condition known as tonsillitis. Tonsillitis usually results in a sore throat, fever, and difficulty swallowing. Because your tonsils grow larger, or swell, when they are infected. As you grow older and your immunity to common germs increases, you should have less trouble with your tonsils. But some people have so many tonsil infections that their doctor recommends the tonsils be removed. A doctor cuts them away during a short operation in a hospital.
Why do mosquitoes bite?
Just female mosquitoes bite, male mosquitoes feed only on fruit and plant juices. The female mosquito bites people, and other animals, to feed on their blood. She needs blood so that her eggs can develop properly before they are laid. One way a female mosquito locates a victim is by feeling the body heat of an animal as she flies by it.
What is sap?
Sap is a term used to describe all the fluids that travel through complex types of plants. Fluids that move through transportation systems made of special xylem and phloem cells. Sap is water with substances like minerals or sugar dissolved in it. Some plants, like maple trees and sugar cane, have so much sugar in their saps that they are raised commercially to make syrup and sugar. Other plants have specialized saps that are hard or sticky, like latex, which is used to make rubber. The sticky gums and resins produced by many trees are thought to protect them from damaging insects and to seal any holes or tears that might occur in their barks.
Which of the big cats is the largest?
The colorful, striped tiger is the largest of the cat family. One type of tiger, the Siberian, is bigger than any lion. A male Siberian tiger can reach 13 feet, 4 meters, in length, including his tail, and weigh up to 650 pounds, 295 kilograms.
Why do some wounds cause scars?
Skin cells are some of the busiest cells in your body. They are constantly reproducing, creating new cells to replace those that make up the hard top layer of your skin, the epidermis, which wears off in bits and pieces throughout the day. In fact, the surface of your skin is completely renewed every 28 days. Because your skin is so efficient at repairs, cuts and scrapes heal amazing well. But sometimes, when a wound is large and extends deep into the inner layer of skin, the dermis, and into other tissues, the damaged areas are replaced by special repair cells called scar tissue. Thick and pale, this tissue doesn't have the flexibility of the skin or muscle it replaces. and it doesn't wear off or renew itself. In other words, while some scars fade a bit over time, they don't go away completely.
How does a refrigerator keep food cold?
When a liquid evaporates, or changes into a gas, it absorbs heat from the things around it. That principle explains why you feel cooler when you sweat. The liquid perspiration removes body heat as it evaporates into the air. The opposite occurs: a gas gives off heat when it changes into a liquid. These two principles are used in most refrigeration systems. Refrigerators are cooled by a special fluid, refrigerant, that is easily changed into a gas or vapor and then back into a liquid again. Compressing the refrigerant, squeezing it into a smaller space than it would normally occupy, makes it take on its liquid form, and it is pumped through evaporator tubes inside a refrigerator. As it changes back to a gas there, it absorbs heat from the food and air inside, cooling the refrigerator's interior. The warmed vapor is pumped outside the refrigerator, by a compressor, and through condenser tubes, where it releases heat into the air as it turns into a liquid again. That heat is the warm air you feel at the back or bottom of a refrigerator. The cycle continues as the refrigerant travels in and out, carrying heat away and keeping food cold. A thermostat set at a certain temperature turns an electric motor on and off. The motor circulates the refrigerant, keeping the right amount of coolness inside the refrigerator. Air conditioners work in a similar way.
What is a caiman?
A caiman, also spelled caiman, is a close relative of the alligator that can be found in Central and South America. Like their crocodilian cousins, caimans live near rivers and other bodies of water. Most caimans are around 6 or 7 feet, 2 meters, long, but the largest species, the black caiman, can grow to a length of 15 feet, 4.5 meters.
Why are the oceans salty?
Oceans are salty because the water that fills them contains dissolved salt, just like the kind we use on our food. The amount of salt in ocean water varies from place to place depending on the different sources of water nearby, but averages about 3.5%. Over the course of millions of years, rivers flowing over salt-containing rocks have emptied into the oceans, bringing along dissolved salt particles. In addition, salt has leaked from solid salt-containing rocks directly into the seas. Salt can also enter the oceans from volcanic activity on the seafloor.
How hot is the sun?
The temperature of the Sun's surface is thought to be about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. 5,500 degrees Celsius. That's more than 50 times the temperature required to boil water. The center of the Sun is much hotter. Scientists have estimated that the center of the Sun is 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. 15 million degrees Celsius.
Are angels real?
In many religions, angels are powerful spiritual beings who live with God but who sometimes become involved in the lives of people on earth, often bringing God's messages to them. According to the Bible, for instance, the angel Gabriel appeared before the Virgin Mary and announced that she would become the mother of Jesus Christ. In the Muslim religion, Gabriel revealed to the Prophet Muhammad the words of Allah, God, which were recorded in the Quran, the sacred book of Islam. Angels are not believed to have physical bodies, but they may look like people when visiting Earth. Over the centuries, artists have portrayed them in many ways. Neither men nor women, angels have human forms. Appearing as babies, children, or adults, and are winged for travel to their heavenly home. In a few religions, like Roman Catholicism, it is believed that each person on earth has a special angel who watches over him or her and gives protection from the temptations of the devil. Such a being is called one's guardian angel. The answer to the question of whether angels are real, then, is a matter of faith.
How many numbers are there?
Numbers are unlimited, or infinite, which means that you could go on counting them forever. One man, Edward Kastner, asked his young nephew, Milton Serrata, to come up with a name for the huge number he was working with, which was a 1 with 100 zeros after it. The boy called it a googol. While the googol is the largest number with a name, there are numbers much larger than googols. So big that you could never write all their zeros down during your lifetime.
Can people in wheelchairs drive cars?
Depending on the severity of the person's disability. Driving a car can be an option for people in wheelchairs. Cars can be modified so that the accelerating and braking are done with hand controls. Other modifications, like ramps or motorized lifts, assist the person in getting in and out of the car.
What do farmers do in the winter?
Some farmers are lucky enough to live in places where the winters are mild and crops can be grown throughout the year. But many farmers live in regions where the winters are cold and snowy. during which time crops can't be grown. In such places, farmers usually plant crops in the spring. Tend to them all summer long, and harvest them in the fall. The winter gives farmers the opportunity to do some things they may not have had time for during the busy growing and harvesting seasons. They can work on their barns or homes, repair their tractors and other machinery, and work out a plan for the following year's crops. Some farmers spend time in the winter promoting and publicizing the products they grow and sell. Many farmers find a second job off the farm during the winter to bring in some extra money. For farmers with lots of animals, or livestock, the work continues right through the winter. The animals must be fed and their pens must be cleaned. Eggs must be gathered from chicken coops and dairy cows need to be milked several times a day. Field work may be suspended for a few months during the winter, but livestock farmers keep busy year-round.
Which animal is the fastest?
The cheetah clocked at speeds of 70 miles, 112 kilometers, per hour is the fastest animal on land. Cheetahs' bodies, with their small heads, long legs, and ridged foot pads that give them extra traction, are designed especially for speed. Humans, by the way, have been known to travel short distances as fast as 28 miles 45 kilometers per hour. Measuring speed in sea animals is very difficult, but studies have shown that the sailfish is the fastest creature in the sea, swimming at speeds up to 68 miles, 109 kilometers, per hour. The fastest animal in the air is the peregrine falcon. When flying horizontally, the peregrine falcon can go around 60 miles, 97 kilometers, per hour. It is during its high-speed dives for prey that this bird breaks speed records, however. Flying at a speed of more than 200 miles, 322 kilometers, per hour. The peregrine falcon frequently kills its prey just by the force of impact.
What should I do when I meet a stranger?
Most of the strangers you encounter are decent people who treat children with respect and would never think of hurting them. But there are dangerous people who do harmful things to children.
What causes earthquakes?
An earthquake is a great shaking of Earth's surface. It is caused by the cracking and shifting of the plates of rock that make up the planet's layered crust. As shifting plates suddenly slide past one another, vibrations in the form of waves are released. These shock waves travel through Earth, gradually weakening as they move farther from the spot, or spots, where the quake began, which is called the epicenter. Regions located near faults, Places where cracks in Earth's crust are known to exist are particularly vulnerable to earthquakes. Earthquakes vary in size and intensity. They may last a few seconds or continue for a few minutes. They may cause no damage, or they could result in widespread destruction and the deaths of thousands of people. Earthquake vibrations can be so violent that they collapse bridges and buildings, destroy highways, cause landslides, and lead to flooding if they occur in shallow water near a coast. When they occur under the ocean, earthquakes can cause a giant wave called a tsunami, which can reach heights of more than 100 feet.
How old is Earth?
Scientists estimate that Earth is between 4.5 and 5 billion years old. They have reached this conclusion by studying moon rocks and meteorites. Rocks that have fallen from space to Earth, that they believe were formed at the same time as our planet.
How do spiders spin webs?
Not all spiders spin webs, but most do. The webs can be spun into many different shapes, and they are used to protect eggs, catch insects for food, or move a spider through the air. Most spiders possess 3 pairs of tube-like spinnerets near the ends of their bodies that produce a fluid that hardens as it is drawn out into silky threads. Spider webs look delicate, but they are actually very strong. When compared with an equal amount of steel, spider silk is 5 times stronger. Spider webs do not last long. They are damaged by the capture of prey or by weather conditions. And some webs simply dry out after a day or two. Some spiders need to spin a new web every day, a task that can take about an hour. Rather than spin a web, certain spiders spin a silk tube with a trapdoor at one end. They hide in the tube until they feel the vibrations of a passing insect. Then they dart out and capture their meal.
How do airplanes fly?
A large jet plane complete with hundreds of passengers weighs several 100,000 pounds.
How many different kinds of animals are there?
Experts estimate that over 1 million different kinds of animals have been identified in the world. There may be millions more, particularly insect species, that have not yet been identified or discovered by scientists. Hundreds of years ago, scientists began dividing the animal kingdom into categories based on certain characteristics like body type, ways of reproducing, and what the animals can do: fly, swim, walk on 2 legs, and so on. The animal kingdom, and every other kingdom as well, is divided and subdivided into numerous other categories. If animal classification categories were viewed as an upside-down pyramid, kingdom, the largest and broadest classification, would be at the top. The animal kingdom is divided into several different parts, called phyla. The singular form of that word is phylum. Each phylum is further divided into classes. The other levels of division are order, family, genus, and species, with species being the tip of that upside-down pyramid, or the most specific way to categorize. When scientists give the official name for a type of animal, they use the genus and species names. Human beings are part of the genus Homo and the species Sapiens. Therefore, our scientific name is Homo sapiens.
What is a star?
Just like our sun, stars are spheres of gases that give off tremendous energy, light, and heat, while the gases that make them may vary. It is always hydrogen that is responsible for the nuclear reactions that power them. Stars also vary in size and brightness. The largest stars, known as supergiants, are hundreds of times greater in size than our sun. Other stars known as white dwarfs can be as small as Earth. The color of a star is related to its size and surface temperature, and can range from red to orange to yellow to white to blue. Red stars have surface temperatures of about 5,400 degrees Fahrenheit, 3,000 degrees Celsius. While blue stars have surface temperatures of 18,000 to 90,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 10,000 to 50,000 degrees Celsius. The term scientists use to describe the brightness of stars is magnitude. A star's magnitude can be difficult to determine just by looking at it. A bright star, if it is very far from Earth, may look dim to us simply because its light has so far to travel. A dim star, on the other hand, would appear quite bright if it is very close to our planet. In terms of stars' actual brightness, as opposed to how bright they appear to our eyes, the brightest stars are also the hottest ones, blue stars. Our yellow sun is a star of medium size and magnitude.
How do cellular phones work?
Cellular phones have exploded in popularity in a relatively short period of time. Cell phones first became available to consumers in the early 1980s. But the technology that made them small and truly portable evolved gradually over the next 10 years or so. By the beginning of the 21st century, millions and millions of people in countries all over the world were using cell phones on a daily basis. And it isn't just adults who enjoy the benefits of completely mobile phone capabilities. In the United States alone, more than 20% of teenagers have a cell phone. That translates to at least 1 in 5 American teens. Before cellular phones, people like police officers or taxi drivers could communicate from their cars using two-way radios. All of the radios in one city transmitted signals via a large central antenna located on top of a tall building, with all callers sharing one antenna. The number of calls that could be made at any one time was very limited. The cellular system takes care of that problem by dividing each city into many small cells. A large city can have hundreds. Each cell has its own tower, which contains an antenna as well as transmitters and receivers that send and receive signals. Each tower can handle numerous callers at a given time, and their small size and weaker signal, compared to the radio antennae, means that their signals don't interfere with those of nearby towers. When you call someone using a cellular phone, your phone is sending and receiving signals via radio waves, invisible bands of energy that work like light rays. In other words, your cell phone is a fancy, high-tech radio. After you dial a friend's number, your phone must find the closest tower by searching for the strongest signal. Once that signal is located, your phone transmits certain information like your cell phone number and serial number that help your service provider, the company your parents pay each month for cell phone service, make sure you are one of their customers. Then the mobile telephone switching office, MTSO, finds an available channel where your conversation can take place. The MTSO then completes the connection, all of this happening in a few short seconds. And you are chatting with your friend without wires or cords to hold you down. If you are sitting in the back seat of the car while talking, and your mom is driving you from one end of town to the other, your call will be automatically switched from one cell to the next without any pause in your conversation.